And with me today, I've got Christopher Taylor, and let me give you a little bit of information about him. He's a former recruiter who writes for the Muse and is also a career practitioner. He probably writes for other places. He just doesn't tell me he does. But his career advice has appeared in the Wall Street Journal, Time, Business Insider, and Forbes. You can learn more about what he does and himself at the Occupational Optimist. Welcome to the show.
Occupation Optimist, no AL, the Occupation Optimist.
My bad.
It happens. I got you. It's a tough one.
It's not that tough if I just paid a little bit more attention. But I have the link is the Occupation Optimist. For some reason, I put the AL in there. I apologize.
I got you. I do it sometimes too.
No worries. The link will be correct in the show notes. But anyway, we had quite a robust discussion before we even started. So this is cool. This is the second time that Chris has been on the show. I follow his content, and he follows mine. He's made that really clear, which is really cool. So today, the state of being a recruiter these days.
Yeah.
And you, as a former recruiter, you no longer recruit, correct?
That's right. Not at all.
But you
strictly job hunt strategy at this point.
But you particularly hobnob with the recruiter crew. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I know the tricks and the secrets. So,
Good
and that's what I'm looking to share.
Yeah, and that's what we're hoping to tap a little bit into in the discussion. Let's try. I'm going to ask a really elementary question.
Okay.
Is being recruited a good thing these days?
Yeah, I think it's always a plus when you have options. So anytime anyone is coming to you with an opportunity, I think that's a blessing. That there are people, to be honest with you, that I work with that they go to bed at night praying that someone will contact them via LinkedIn with an opportunity that they can possibly evaluate. So I think anytime you get an opportunity, at least take the time to evaluate it.
Right. So tell me the difference between a recruiter and a headhunter.
Yeah. So actually, I was a headhunter. I worked for a recruiting agency. But the difference is specifically a headhunter serves a number of different clients. So works with a number of different companies. So sometimes there are larger companies that may have been working to fill a role over a large amount of time, let's say 6-7 months, and they can't find the right person. So they outsource that search to a headhunter. And then there are also small to mid-sized organizations that maybe can't afford, we'll say, an HR team or a talent acquisition team. So when it's time to actually do their recruiting, they outsource that to a headhunter. So that's how headhunters work. They serve a number of different clients. They're actually paid by the client and not by the candidate. And then you have recruiters, and recruiters work internally for one organization.
Gotcha. So which one did you like, being a headhunter or a recruiter?
Headhunter. I was strictly a headhunter. And to be honest, there's pros and cons to both, to be completely honest with you. I think one of the things that's really neat about being a headhunter is you get to work on a number of different searches, maybe across the country or even across the world, right? Maybe you're searching for a number of different roles throughout different industries and functions. So I enjoy that. But I would say the downside of being a headhunter is when you're a headhunter, you're truly only as good as your clients. So there are times when in the past I've worked with clients that, to be honest, I wouldn't want to work for. And that's one of the reasons why I left the recruiting industry. It's one of the reasons why I decided to become a job hunt strategist versus a headhunter, because I did bump into this roadblock time and time again of, hey, it's my job to find this particular company talent, but I know good and well that I would never want to work for these folks, and I would never recommend it to anyone that I know. And for me, it's important for me to ensure that anytime I present someone with an opportunity, that opportunity is, in my opinion, better than where they're sitting right now. And if I can't do that, that's something I'm not comfortable with.
Right. So, as a headhunter, would you have several clients vying for the same job, or would you have just one client for one job?
So I think what you're referring to is candidates.
Yes.
So I would typically have several candidates vying for the same role,
Mm.
you know. So yeah.
Yeah. So it must be interesting. Well, let me ask you this: how many of them actually asked? How could they stand out? How could they?
Not
Um,
many. Not many. And most people don't take advantage of working with a headhunter. I mean, there are certain advantages to working with a headhunter, right? So
mhm,
you should have the advantage of, number one, you have someone who is plugging you into a network.
mhm,
Now, if you think about it, if you were just applying for a role on your own, you may or may not even be evaluated. You could be the
mhm.
best candidate and you may not be seen, right?
Right.
So at least one, you have someone who is plugging you in
Mhm,
to the network that you need to be a part of. So that's one. You've got an individual who knows exactly what the hiring manager is looking for.
mhm.
That helps tremendously, right? Two,
Right.
you got someone that understands the culture of the organization. Three, you've got someone who is knowledgeable as far as any type of salary goes.
Mhm,
And that's important. Four, and then you got someone who completely understands the process. They know how many interviews it's going to take to get through this process. They may even know the questions that are going to be asked. So that's
mhm,
five. So, this person, and a lot of people don't realize this, or maybe they don't think about it, but a headhunter wants you to get the role
mhm,
because typically a headhunter is not compensated unless they actually close out that deal. Unless you get the job, they don't make any money. So they
mhm,
want you to get the job. So when you ask them, "Hey, can you tutor me? I mean, can you guide me? Can you
mhm.
tell me what I need to say and how I need to present myself?" That's a headhunter's dream. They want to help you out, but a
Right.
lot of people don't ask. To be
Uh,
completely honest with you,
do a lot of hunters offer?
you would think. You would think. I would also throw in there that oftentimes headhunters are working on a number of different roles. So
Mhm,
they may be talking to you about one position, but they may have eight other roles they're looking to fill on their desk because they're always going to be just completely crunched for time.
mhm.
So some people, I mean, they should offer, but a lot of times when folks are in a rush, it just doesn't, they don't think about it. So
Right. So a recruiter is necessarily the internal person. They work for the company.
that's right. Recruiter works
The
internally for the company.
headhunter, in essence, may not necessarily work for you, but can be more of an advocate and a mentor to you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
just want to be sure we make that distinction
Sure.
because we
Sure.
we talk a lot about recruiting, but we don't talk a lot about what headhunters do.
Yeah.
And headhunters to me seem to lie in the cut, so to speak.
Say that one more time. They
Uh, uh,
seem to.
they seem to lie in the cut. You know what
Okay.
I mean? They
Okay.
they kind of are just watching the gunfire go by, uh, watching the bullets fly. They
Yeah.
they hear the bombs go off, but they don't seem to intervene and say, "Wait a second, you're doing all this wrong."
Sure. Sure. That's fair enough.
Yeah, yeah. So but that's a very important distinction to make because a lot of people listen to this are going to probably change their way of thinking or seek more clarification. Not that everybody needs to get everything they need from this conversation, but I think this will be a good directional conversation for them to kind of go and consider the options.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you're talking to a headhunter versus a recruiter, you're talking to two different people. So, there could be a little bit of a different approach.
Right.
Me, I would be a lot more comfortable being, um, I'd be comfortable being a lot more open with a headhunter than I
Mhm.
would an internal recruiter.
Oh, without a doubt,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I think people don't realize. I think people equate them. that they do the same thing. It's just a matter of terms, but
Absolutely.
but it's a matter of who they work for,
Yeah.
who they'll advocate for, and the recruiter likely, um, is going to be that guy is going to be listening to the other company that hired them to do what they want. So, uh, in view of that, to our little robust discussion before we got started,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Christopher had asked me, um, of a statement that I made in a post regarding having a blog and using LinkedIn. Of course, I'm going to say you need both. But in your view as a recruiter or a headhunter, um, you likely are going to recommend people with a LinkedIn first, more so than a blog. Is that a good assumption?
Yeah, I would say a LinkedIn first. I mean, to be honest with you, I haven't come across very many job hunters with blogs,
Hmm.
right? So that tells me a few different things. So one, in my mind, it does put a priority on the LinkedIn piece because I'm looking for talent
Hmm.
via LinkedIn. Now, with that being said, anytime you're one of the few people that do anything and you do it well, it could be a way for you to stand out from the pack.
Hmm.
So, that's why I was so excited. We were chatting earlier about blogs and just kind of your thought on it.
Right.
Now, what I do see some of, and I should be seeing a lot more of, instead of blogs, portfolios. An online portfolio that is displaying your work, especially if you are part of a creative field. So
Hmm.
maybe you are digital marketing field, or even just marketing, digital marketing, advertising, some type of social media related role. I mean, these are all creative positions where I think you should definitely be showcasing past examples of your work. And a
Hmm.
lot of people aren't doing that. Some are. And the folks that I do work with, my clients that I do work with, when it comes to getting them to the job hunt and helping them land their next role, a lot of the ones that have taken the time to put together that portfolio have been a lot more successful.
Mm, very good.
Yeah.
So for sure, those who would stand out would even have a LinkedIn profile that is a portfolio, and might even be more strictly a portfolio, but to kind of increase the value of their ability to tell a story. A blog can be that extra arm, uh,
Yeah.
in the sense that there are things that you could go very deeply into a blog, and to attract more than just a recruiter. Especially if somebody, let's say, does some things, like I have some friends who actually do blogs, but they also do some media stuff,
Okay.
and they really use their expertise
Yeah.
to reach out to media, and
Okay.
that's where media actually finds them. Now, if you're found in the media and you've got a great LinkedIn profile, and we're talking about very few in between, right? We're not talking about the many. I mean, for people that have a decent LinkedIn profile is really quite impressive, right? But
Sure.
for them to have some other things that involve, like social media, uh, social media stuff, they're going to really stand out and be viewed even more differently than the other candidates that are in their field.
Yeah, I mean, I think just to kind of simplify the whole conversation, I think um, a blog is a great way for you to brand yourself as an industry expert.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think what's really cool about the blog is, like you were just saying, the blog and LinkedIn can really go hand in hand.
Hmm.
So you can cut the articles from the blog, or take the articles from the blog. You can republish some of the articles on LinkedIn.
Hmm.
You can take excerpts from the blog and use them as LinkedIn posts. But really, the fight is to establish yourself and to brand yourself as an industry expert.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for someone being recruited or in a recruiter's mind, the more I know the candidate, or the more you would know the candidate, the more interested you would be coming to bring somebody in live for an interview.
Yeah, that definitely helps. I mean, I think when it comes to, and I'm speaking from the mindset or the viewpoint of a headhunter.
Right.
So a headhunter is being compensated typically anywhere from 20 to 30% of a
Mm-hmm.
candidate's first year annual salary or combined salary in order to help this company or this client find a needle in a haystack.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're let's say you're up for a role as a marketing manager, and let's say that role is going to pay you $100,000.
Mm-hmm.
For a company, we'll say Johnson and Johnson, to write a $20,000 check to the recruiting agency in which I work for, I
Mm-hmm.
need to find them someone that they can't find on their own.
Mm-hmm.
So all the stuff that you're talking about when you're talking about these great LinkedIn profiles, you're talking about these blogs, you're talking about portfolios, you're talking about branding yourself as an expert, that's the needle in a haystack. That's
Mm-hmm.
the person that's doing the things that everyone else isn't doing. That the person that's going above and beyond, that's choosing to go above and beyond. So that's the person that I'm looking to present to my client. We'll say Johnson and Johnson as, okay, this is the guy that you need on your team. This is the guy you're not going to be able to find on your own, just kind of flipping through resumes.
Mm. So in 2019, somebody who has both and has invested the time in making both quality is still a needle in the haystack, despite that
Absolutely.
we've been giving this advice for about 10 years now.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
I just find that so fascinating that
Yeah.
even small businesses,
Yes.
solopreneurs like you and I,
Yeah.
to see how many of them will even say, well, yeah, I can help with your LinkedIn profile, but you don't have a photo on your LinkedIn profile yourself.
You're right.
So it's like, how
Right.
can you teach somebody to stand out if you don't stand out,
You
right?
got a good point. Sure.
So, just to kind of give a wrap up here, the two or three things, again, that stand out to you as a headhunter, and of course, use that experience yourself to stand out in your business, is one that they're expert or perceived to be an expert because of the time and the quality of information they provide online, showing the expertise. That they actually have something that people can look at and to stand out. And again, we're not just talking about just filling in some blanks. That there's a portfolio is the better word. And
Absolutely.
and thirdly, for the fact that you're asking those kind of questions to a headhunter, uh, will also help you, in at least in the headhunter's mind. This guy really gets it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good,
Absolutely.
good deal.
Absolutely.
Good deal. Well, Chris, I don't want to take too much of your time. As much as we could probably talk for about 2-3 hours. We should
Yeah, we could.
we should connect.
And we should one day.
Yeah, we should. We should get some phone time. Uh,
That's right.
one of these times when I make it to the ATL.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, I know. My son lives in South Carolina,
Okay.
so my wife and I have talked about visiting her cousin. I have fraternity brothers and friends who live in ATL, so
Yeah,
we would definitely have to have
sounds great.
one of those places you show on Instagram. But
Yeah.
again, for the people in the back, how can people get a hold of you if they want to know more about you?
So Occupation Optimist, it's the name of the company, occupationoptimist.com, as well as my LinkedIn page under Christopher Taylor. So
Good deal.
that'll work.
Thank you, sir, for offering some great information here, and you clarified a bunch of stuff for us.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, man. We'll be in touch, and I'll let you know when the video goes up. Like I said, that's going to be a
Okay.
short version, and then the audio will be this fall, and I'll let you know when that's posted. I don't know when yet because I'm doing a
Yeah.
bunch of these
Okay.
before I actually start the series again in September.
Sounds amazing. I'll talk to you soon. All right. You
All
have a
right,
good one.
take
Thank you.
care. Thanks for your time.
All
Appreciate it.
right, buddy.
All right, bye.